Hello, great ones. Welcome back to the Live and Be Great podcast. I'm your host, Latonya McDonald. I'm a spiritual psychological life coach and the heart behind Live and Be Great, where we blend psychology, astrology, human design, and deep soul work to help you transform your life. Today is going to be real, raw, and maybe a little triggering. Maybe, but indeed necessary. So I wonder, have you ever been in a relationship where your partner told you up front who they were? Maybe even admitted they were toxic, unavailable, or not ready for love. And yet you stayed. Maybe you thought you could change them. Maybe you confused chaos with passion, or maybe deep down, something in you felt like that's all you deserve. Many toxic partners are honest up front. They'll say things like, I'm not ready. I don't want commitment. I'm not good for you. We override those warnings because we may have attachment wounds, early experiences with inconsistent or unavailable caregivers that normalize dysfunction. We may have a love addiction when the brain craves the highs and the lows of drama like a drug. You ever heard there's people that said, that would say, oh, I like to argue just so we can make up later. Weird, yes. Not trying to judge, but yeah, trauma, or some may experience a fantasy bond where we fall in love with the potential instead of reality. I think I do that myself in any relationship, honestly. That's who I am. That's one of my gifts. But in the love arena, if you're not working on yourself, if you don't understand why you're attracted to certain behaviors or certain types of people, whether they're good or bad, this isn't a good thing. Okay. For example, actually, I think everybody, I can't just say my clients, I can say everybody that I know that has been in a toxic relationship. Okay. Red flags. There might be cheating. The person may say, time and time again, I do not want a relationship, okay? Or they would get upset. The person that, may have said they don't want a relationship, but they'll get upset if you're talking to someone else. And yes, I often do see this as a double standard. I do. And no, it's not always the male that would be entertaining other women. Sometimes it is the female that may be entertaining other men. You can look at different reality shows or love shows and you can kind of see that behavior where they're more possessive. Okay? That person may be more possessive over their partner, even though it's just a weird dynamic. It is very, very weird. Very, very weird dynamic. But back to what I was saying, I hope I didn't go too much off track or confuse you, but everyone that has ignored these red flags, okay, even though the person may have said upfront, I don't want a relationship. When they do talk to me about it, if they want to stay, they often leave certain things out. And yes, me being a Pisces and based off of my trauma, I am quick to cut somebody off. Or, if I feel like the person is toxic, if they're not my client and you're my client or you're my friend or you're my loved one, I'm like, chop it. Okay. I really am. And no, not chop it, not chop it. There's certain things that, okay, yeah, there might be a misunderstanding, right? If there's an argument about a misunderstanding and not something that causes harm or danger, then yes, I'm the first one to try to mediate the situation and try to figure out where the other person may be coming from so things aren't taken the wrong way. I like to ask the right questions. But also, if I keep hearing the same information, or if I hear something toxic, like if somebody has gotten violent, or if somebody has called you out of your name, if somebody is cheating on you, or whatever the case may be that causes, there should be like some boundaries, some absolutely deal breakers that you're like, okay, this is not a respectful, loving relationship. I should go. Oftentimes, people that want to still be in those relationships, they will leave that part out, whatever that deal breaker is, and just give you like the many things. Or they might say, well, I was toxic too. Okay. They will find a way to try to stay in that space in hopes that things will change, or they don't want me. Okay. And I might be guilty of this too in the past relationships. They don't want me to say, okay, it's time to cut it off. So they will just ignore those red flags or hide them from the person that they're actually trying to get reassurance from. Okay. If you find yourself doing that, you might be in a toxic relationship. You might be. So if we know it's bad for us, why do we stay? Let's dig into the psychology of that. Okay. From an inner child perspective, when love felt conditional growing up, toxicity feels familiar, right? Like if you've gotten the cold shoulder from a parent, and or a parent may talk to you in a certain way that is disrespectful and harmful to how you feel about yourself. Like you've been called stupid, or you've been called a liar when you're actually telling the truth, or you may have gotten hit when trying to express yourself, even though it may have not been the best way to express yourself. Or maybe, as an adult, you may have told yourself, oh, I could have, as a child, I shouldn't have came at my parent that way, or whatever the case may be. But the inner child perspective is, because it's coming from my first example of love, it should be okay. It's okay, because they are my teachers of what love should look like. Okay? Staying is often less about your adult self and more about your wounded child who still wants approval. Your inner child might hear rejection as a challenge. If I can make this toxic person love me, maybe I'll finally be enough. From a generational healing lens, how parents model relationships shapes our default love scripts. Now, I want you to pause and ask yourself, whose love are you really chasing? When you say, I'm going to stay with someone who mistreats me. Now, from a spiritual point of view, when we think of our charts, right? When I'm thinking about my own chart, there are plenty of placements in my human design chart, my astrology chart, that suggest my need for stability. Okay. And those are if you have like earth sign placements. Also, the house placements, it is in the order of the zodiac placements. Okay. And we start with Aries. Aries is the first, and the last is Pisces, 1 through 12. So when you think of the house placements, which is the houses 1 through 12, zodiac sign that is affiliated with that particular house number is the energy that is there. So I have certain placements in my own chart that desires stability. So that means I, in my love life, want to see things through and try to work things out, right? Also, in those placements, there's confirmation that I keep a log of everything that's done wrong. I do. Okay. That's also in my chart. So there's also things in my chart like I am a manifesting generator in the human design space. And I don't like to leave something without having something else prepared in the wings. It's not always a good thing. It just isn't. And I'm just being vulnerable, being honest and transparent with my own flaws and me having my chart and having access to this information. Yes, there's certain things that I've grown out of, that I've learned to correct that wasn't working for me. But there's also information there and confirmation there of what I desire, how I love, what I'm attracted to. For if you look at your astrology chart, your Venus sign is how you are in love, and your Mars sign is what you're attracted to in a partner. And for men, their Venus sign is what they're attracted to in a partner, and their Mars sign is how they are in love, right? So there could be conflict there, to where if you have the person's chart and you understand who they are and how they are, they may never be what you want them to be. And you're sitting there holding on, wasting time with that person when you should be moving on. And it doesn't have to be a sad thing. It doesn't have to be a messy breakup type of situation. All right. You can, of course, you'll have to do the work, but looking at those charts with your partner, or if you have a friend or a family member that's in a toxic relationship, looking at the charts of the person that they're with, and the person that you want to leave or you're on the side on, can look in those charts and also get confirmation as to why things aren't working, or sometimes how things can work. Better explanation of that person and how they love and how they receive love. Okay. Now, I do want you to know that when doing the spiritual studies and getting the confirmation, I want you to understand that just because a person was meant to teach you a lesson doesn't mean they were meant to stay forever. So when you're dating, right, when you combine the psychological and the spiritual, you combine all of that, right? When you're dating, and dating, a lot of people feel like it's very draining. So sometimes people will be on the sites and they will be like, no, like, I'm tired. I keep running into the same issue. Or, or they could feel like they're going on constant interviews or whatever the case may be. It could take a lot out of you. But one of the main things that is supposed to be happening, these interactions, and if you even make it to a relationship with that person, is it teaches you about yourself, and it teaches you about what you really, really value in a relationship. You can take it as that. It does not have to be a loss for you if you decide to move on, if you decide that this space isn't really serving me any longer. Now, how do we break free and reclaim our power? How to move from to doing? Think about episode 66, okay? That dream world, that idea space that some of us love to be in, that potential space that some of us love to be in, but actually making moves to better your experiences in relationships, okay? Now, step one is going to be radical acceptance. Believe them the first time. Okay? Yes, sometimes it is true. I feel from my experience that women often marry potential and men marry based off of who you are right now, not potential. Okay? Now, depending on your experience, your trauma, your charts, all those different things, yeah, that could show up differently for you. But based off of what I've seen The common space is women potential, men who you are right now. So accept, regardless of that, accept who they are, who they show you they are the first time. Step 2, healing attachment wounds. Inner child journaling, parenting practices. And that's really therapy is actually, I feel like, as a therapist or even as me being a life coach, I'm reparenting my clients. Is beneficial. I'm being reparented when I go to therapy or a life coach, right? That can help you getting to that doing what's right for you. Step 3, build self-worth by setting non-negotiables in relationships. Please, some of mine are in which I sometimes when I watch certain things, certain shows, and when people actually are unscripted and they share their relationship woes and things of that nature, or my clients or friends or whoever. No, me and my husband, no, there's no cheating. Okay. We don't do that. That's just leave before you cheat. Okay. I don't accept that. Calling me out of my name or me calling him out of his name, that's just no. We don't do that. Okay. And of course, it can never get physical. Okay. You can't even look like you're gonna attack me. There's no overt aggression, no pointing fingers in people's faces. Like there's certain things that's just absolute no for me. And you should always feel there's no disrespect, there's no calling me names, there's no talking about my image and no. Okay. So you gotta value yourself because at the end of the day you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So everybody should establish those things. And the ones that I just named, I think everybody honestly should use those. I really do. Makes sense to me. And when I see people cussing each other out and being aggressive with each other, I'm like, why are you going back? Like that should be done. Like I don't personally understand it. Some people, like I said, they've normalized that behavior because they've seen it in their household. But you got to have something if you want to be in a healthy relationship that helps you grow as a person and not take away from who you are and your value. Step 4, reframe loneliness. Being alone is not a punishment. It's power. It truly is. And they've already done a study. Look up the study on, I think they did it on, it was on CNN or something like that. Lonely people live longer. They do. So listen, it's not all bad. It really isn't, especially if you have peace. But also that power that comes in that loneliness, understanding who you are, learning how to treat yourself with love and respect, and then wanting to share that with someone else and allowing that person to add to your life, not take away from it, right? Because you are who you attract. You definitely are. And I remember I made a post a while ago and I said, it does not matter if you change your religion, if you change who you're attracted to, if you change if you become trans, doesn't matter. If you say, I'm going to date these type of races, does not matter. Does not matter. If you do not work on yourself, you will attract your parents. You will attract what you have normalized, and you have to go through those lessons. That's how that goes. Until you are able to do that deep work on yourself. That's the only way it's changing. I want you to know that you don't need to earn love. You are love. And the moment you stop chasing toxicity is the moment you become magnetic to real, safe, soul nourishing connection. that's when that happens. All right. Don't ignore these red flags. I get tired of it. I really do. And then I find out later. I always find out later from those who want to stay or those who have not yet done the work on themselves. Person has done things that should have crossed many a boundaries and have been the catalyst to cutting them off. Should have been, or they keep going through the same cycle. They keep attracting the same person. They've already learned that lesson. You have to ask yourself, how long do you want to continue to learn the same lesson over and over again? Okay. So today we explored why we sometimes settle for toxic love, even when the warnings are clear. From childhood wounds to love, addiction, to lessons. The good news is you're not doomed to repeat the cycle. You can rewrite your love story starting today. If this episode spoke to you, don't just sit with it. Share it with someone who might need the reminder. And if you're ready to dive deeper into healing attachment wounds and building relationships rooted in self-worth, visit me at liveandbegreat.com. To you'll find ways to work with me directly and start transforming your love life from the inside out because that is the right way. I promise you that. You can also connect with me on YouTube and Instagram at Live and Be Great with Latonya and on TikTok at Live and Be Great _ Latanya for daily insights and tools. Thank you again for listening to this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time, give yourself permission to live and be great.